Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into There is More to Be Done. My name is Anam, and I'm a psychology enthusiast. I'm here to share some simple strategies with you from the toolkit that I have created through my experiences and learnings in life for the everything is out of control, I don't know what to do moments. In this podcast, once in 2 weeks, I talk about different topics that will help you develop confidence and a I got this attitude. So let's get started. Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the art of asking for help. Oftentimes, we get really overwhelmed when a lot happens in a very short amount of time, and it's a lot to process. So, how do we go about processing when there is so much going on in your head that it almost feels like your head is going to explode? I think in these moments, we are at our worst or snappy. At least that's what we usually tell ourselves. We don't want to talk to anyone, we don't want to be comforted, but we want to be comforted at the same time. It's just a super annoying situation. So, how do we tackle that? How do we feel like we can actually figure things out when everything seems out of control and all you want to do is scream? Because let's face it, screaming may feel good in the moment, but it's almost never the solution. Now, before we go into the solution part, let's try and see what actually causes that overload in the first place. In my experience, I think it's all these smaller things that add up. And most of the times, when those small issues come up, we know what the solutions are, but either we are not comfortable doing it, or they're scary, or we feel that we're not ready for the outcome. We don't feel like it's something that I want to take on right now because there's so much going on already. And yes, of course, it's okay to say that. It's okay to, you know, pace all your problems to deal with it one by one. You don't have to do everything at the same time and find all the solutions at the same time. If it's too much for you, it's too much for you. But it is important to deal with it as soon as you can, because the more you procrastinate it, the more it's going to add up and compound. And eventually, you will explode. And when you do explode, you're not only hurting yourself, but also the people around you who are at the other end of witnessing that explosion. It will end up hurting them some way or the other. And none of us want to be a cause for someone else's hurt, especially the people we love. As you know, the pivotal point for me was having becoming an extrovert my mission, and making extroversion my life's mission means that I have a lot of social circles and work circles, and I make a lot of commitments that I have to keep up for in terms of work, in terms of everything else, which can, of course, at times get overwhelming, especially when I myself am dealing with something. In these situations, what helps me uphold these commitments and show up is that I actually sit down and take a pause to deal with everything. I decide that I need to take a break and process things. My go to method is always journaling, and my second go to method is always talking about it with the people I care about. This is something that helps me get through it. Maybe talking to a friend or spending some time in solitude is your method. But most of the times, what we do out of self preservation is that we run away from it by distracting ourselves. We think, let me do whatever I want. Everything is going to hell, anyways. So I'm not going to think about it right now. I'm going to go to a party or watch a Netflix marathon at home and feel better. But all that is going to do is it's going to postpone the inevitable. You are just losing the time that you could have actually spent processing those things and figuring out a solution for them. But rather than that, if we go towards distractions, we end up either wasting half a day or sometimes even an entire day. And all we're doing is losing time that we could have used to actually be productive or find possible solutions. But what if instead of distracting ourselves, we decided to sit down with a friend and talk about everything that's bothering us? If we had chosen that option, we would actually gain perspective on the things that we're dealing with and find solutions that will actually guide us to the things we can do in those situations. Now, I understand this is not always doable. Obviously, not every time that you're in a bad situation, you can take a break or think about your problems. And sometimes everything comes at once. It's a pressure cooker situation where you're under a lot of stress and you have a deadline and you have to meet all these deadlines. But you know what companies do when they're in these kind of situations? In organizations and the companies we work in, when we are in a crisis situation, we call a meeting. We call all the top executives and put the problem out in the open. We talk about it to everyone and we ask everyone to propose a solution or an opinion, and together we see whether it's a viable solution or not. But what I've really never understood is when we do this so well in organizations and our professional life, why don't we use the same strategy in our personal life? I mean, of course, I understand emotionally it's difficult because being vulnerable and open to people in your life and actually communicating all the crazy thoughts that go in your head in those moments is terrifying. But logically and objectively, if you see, it doesn't make sense because the people we care about in our lives, they're the executives in our personal life, our close friends, family friends, whose judgment we can trust and we can really tell them what's going on. So, why don't we just sit and brainstorm ideas together with these people whom we trust? Because when you are going to share a problem, everyone has a perspective. Because maybe what seems like a mountain for you, because it's the first time you are facing it, and it's the first time you are going through that experience, and it looks like a earth-shattering, life-threatening situation, someone in your life might have already gone through that situation, might have already overcome that. And they might think that it's just a bump in the road and everyone comes across it and it's not a big deal to deal with it. When somebody you trust shares that perspective with you and walks you through their experience and how they deal with it, that will make you feel better and take away the fear out of the unknown. Talking to somebody about what you're going through, inviting your friends and your loved ones into the things that are bothering you, it's a love language because now you're trusting somebody with something that you feel vulnerable about. By asking their help, you're showing them that you trust their judgment. You have faith in them keeping this confidential. In my life, I'm a curious person and I ask random questions to people all the time. And usually, when I ask most people why they're so afraid of asking help, the most common answer that I get is that I don't want to look too weak. I don't want to look weak in front of the people that depend on me, and I don't want to bother anyone by being needy. But if you can't share these low moments with the people you care about, what's the point? If you can't show how you feel with these people that you love and care about, what does it say about your relationship with them? To me, that is a superficial relationship because you can call anybody when you're happy. Anybody who knows you and wishes the best for you will celebrate with you when you're happy. And even if you're in a store and there are strangers around you and you got some good news and you start jumping around, a passerby will also look at you and smile. And if you tell them why you are so excited, they will also include themselves in your happiness and participate by saying, wow, that's amazing. But when you go through a hard situation, why is it that we always want to sit alone in our misery? Why is it that we don't actually want to reach out to somebody and tell them what we're going through and that it's difficult? What if by doing that, we're missing out on more ideas that they might be able to give us to, say if you lost a job and you're sharing that? What if sharing that with your friends and loved ones actually helps by them giving ideas to you to tackle that? Because they can do a lot being in your circle. They can introduce you to new people, they can give you strategies to find the job that you really want, and they can help you tailor your resume. But if you don't ask for help, how will you ever know that they were willing to help you? And how are they going to know that you need help? How will they get a chance to take care of you? Because relationships don't automatically form. A stranger comes along and they became an acquaintance. But you only form a friendship with them when you start sharing your life experiences with them, the good times and the bad. Then, when a problem comes along and you guys are standing together through it, tall, that becomes a shared experience where you've now included them. Think about the close friends you have. Do you have any friend that you call a really close friend that you've not been through tough times with? I don't think anyone would call another person their close friend unless you guys have been through together through dark times and you felt comfortable being vulnerable in front of each other. During these dark times, when they provided you the assurity that they won't leave you in lurch, that's what really bonds you. Because together is always better. We, as people, become stronger when we lean on each other. not them only on you, but also you relying on them. There was a very good quote that Sadhguru had shared in one of the interviews in a podcast that I heard called Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu. It's a really good podcast, by the way. Should definitely go check it out. He talks about how the forest stands strong in storms, in all these different weathers, because they're all interconnected under the roots. That's why a single tree has the probability of falling, but a forest can go through a lot of different climatic conditions and still stay strong for years and years to come. I think that really summed up the strength of building a community together and how we as humans thrive when we really rely on each other. My best friends that I have right now are the ones who've stood by me when I have gone through lows and highs and everything in between. But they were only able to support me because I met them halfway. They did not get a dream that I needed help and just show up on my door. I reached out to them and I told them that I was going through something and that I needed them. And when I said that, they did not say that, oh, it's not a big issue. Why are you worried about these silly things? They were people who sometimes said nothing. They just sat with me and they just heard me and they just asked me what I need. That's all. Plain and simple. They just were with me. We live in a world today where we have more than 500 friends in social media and at least more than 100 contacts in our phone. Yet, when we feel real crisis, when we want to cry, we can hardly think of one person and go to that person and openly talk about it. Just ugly cry in front of them. And if I'm honest, I had those moments. And because I was alone in those moments for a long time, despite having so many people around me, that at a certain stage I decided that I don't want to have friendships without intention. And honestly, this is a social issue that's close to my heart. I have worked really hard in my personal life to make sure that when I decide that I want to be friends with someone, I show up with complete vulnerability in all my relationships. I have literally a board in my room that says that have the courage to show up vulnerably. Because having the courage to take that first step in my relationships is how I'm going to lead by example. This is how I will show people that having intentional friendships can fulfill your life in such a great way and make it filled with joy. This is how I lead by example and show people to build their own tribe, a tribe that will have their back. Every great author, writer, leader talks about how you are just a sum of the five people that are closest to you. And if in those five people, you don't have people with whom you have a genuinely open and deep relationship with whom you cannot talk about how you actually feel, then what does that say about you? Why do even these people exist in your life? Is it because you want to be popular? Is it because they add status value in the society for you? Why are these people in your life if you can't call them when you need them? And they can't call you if they need you. Because life is messy. It's not going to be always about partying and going out to avoid dealing with stress. Life feels full when you feel all the emotions, not just the things that make you feel happy. Because it's in those stressful moments when you feel defeated, when you feel sad, when you feel like you don't have anything to offer to anyone else. In those moments when your friends, your loved ones show up to be with you, those are the moments where at least I have felt the most loved. Because here is a person with no expectation sitting with me to comfort me, to tell me that somebody cares, and that matters. And if you notice, the most successful people are people who sit with their feelings. They're people who deal with their feelings and have the ability to articulate them, to label them, and have the courage to share them. Because really, that's what sets us apart from all the other animals and species. So to speak, it is the ability to communicate how we feel with other human beings that sets us apart from all these other species. How we share our dreams, our passion, how we move forward in the world with innovations because we are passionate about solving problems, how we feel joy in others' successes. So then, why is it that we find it so difficult to ask for help? If you live your life and on your funeral day, people are not going to be able to say anything meaningful or not able to really share a real memory of you, how do you think that's going to make you feel? Because human beings connect most through shared experiences. You have to share your experiences with everyone to make this life beautiful. And all experiences include your joys and your troubles and everything in between, really. I hope that my step forward here today by showing up vulnerably and sharing how I experienced the lowest moments in my life will help you inspire to do the same. I'm not going to lie, to tell you the truth, it is scary. It is scary and it is terrifying, and there's so much fear of rejection that you feel. But trust me, it's worth it. It's worth the rewarding experience of sleeping at night peacefully, knowing that there are several people who have your back. And yes, of course, I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes you'll get hurt. But it's not very different from falling off the bicycle and still getting back on it right away so that you can actually learn to ride it well. You will land on your feet with negative experiences too. Negative experiences is what teaches you and shows you how resilient you are, that you're strong and no one can break you that easy. So go out there and show yourself. Be real, be you. Try really putting in an effort to build intentional friendships and surround yourself with people with whom you have no fear of judgment. Life is going to feel great when you surround yourself with such people. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and found this topic helpful. If you did find it helpful or you know somebody who might like this topic, please like and share the episode. And please follow the show on the app that you're listening to this podcast on. Please do let me know in the comment section of how you like this episode and if you have any questions regarding this topic or any other topics that I have shared in my podcasts. I'll be more than happy to answer them. For more content, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at There's More to Be Done or visit my blog at there'smoretobedone.blog. Links are in the episode description below. This is Anam, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Keep learning, keep growing.